Hello. Hey, can I pick up that chocolate cupcake I ordered?
Yes, sir. Here you go.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Have a great day.
Ooh. I'm making this video for any potential home buyers who are thinking about canceling their contracts because honestly, canceling the contract is a piece of cake if you do it right. As a bonus, I'll give you a tip on what to do before you cancel at the end of this video. So why are so many buyers backing out of contracts? When is it okay to do that? And when is it too late to cancel? And what happens if you cancel anyway? In October 2022, 60,000 purchase agreements fell through as buyers contend with increasing interest rates, high prices, and worried the same house could go way down in price in the near future. According to Redfin, 60,000 is the most cancellations on record since they started tracking the data back in 2013. Along with deal cancellations, price cuts also hit record highs as prospective buyers started second-guessing their move into the housing market. So what does it mean to be under contract, and when are you obligated to complete the purchase? When you make an offer on a house and the seller accepts that you're under contract, and the contract that you both signed almost always contains conditions, contingencies that must be met in order for the contract to move forward to closing the transaction. It's these conditions or stipulations or contingencies where it can get confusing for both parties. A contingency is an off-ramp built into a contract so that a buyer can terminate that contract without any negative consequences whatsoever. Along with the offer, almost always there's going to be earnest money left with the broker. Or a title company they trust to hold on to that money in case the buyer doesn't hold up to their end of the bargain. Keeping the earnest money is the first line of defense in case a deal goes south, but that's not the limit of a buyer's exposure. Typically, the contingencies that get the most attention are the ones that are headline items, if you will. Inspections, appraisals, financial contingencies are the most familiar. But they're by no means the only ones. There's a lot more in the body of the contract, usually about the timing of deliverables like lender letters, earnest money deposits, things that seem minor, but they're still contingencies. If they aren't carried out, it could threaten the closing. A few months ago, when the market was hot, sellers were saying no to buyers that had contingencies, and a buyer that had to get a loan was often elbowed out in favor of an all-cash offer, even if that offer was a little bit less. In Tennessee, for example, a financial contingency can kill the deal on the last day. If you can't get a loan, you can't get a loan, and it's no wonder sellers are saying heck no to buyers with a financial contingency when they have an option of a cash buyer with no contingency at all. But now with the housing market being so dramatically different and buyers having more control, they're much more cautious and loading up with all the contingencies they can just to be sure they're getting a solid house at a fair price. Here's how all that works. For example, if you have an inspection and they find a leaky roof or bad pipes or wet and moldy crawl space or anything else except cosmetics, the buyer can require the seller to agree to address these items to their satisfaction, or they terminate the contract. If you require the seller to do repairs, my caution is this: be very specific on what you're asking for. If the roof leaks, do you want it replaced or is a patch okay? If the HVAC isn't running up to specs, do you want it replaced or is a repair okay? If you're not specific, you may get stuck with what they give you. So when is it too late to back out of a contract? Once under contract and all the contingencies have passed, it's much harder to get out of a deal without a consequence of some kind. What I'm saying is, if the house checks out, the appraisal is good, and the only reason you want to get out is because you got cold feet, from a legal standpoint, that's just not good enough. And before you think you can trash your credit just to get a loan denial, understand there's always an act in good faith clause in a contract. What that means is you can't sabotage the deal just to get out of it. If you try to terminate for no good cause, the first thing to go is the earnest money. And if this puts the seller in a really tough spot, like they needed to sell to buy the next house and backing out makes that deal fall apart, you could be looking at a lawsuit of some kind. I don't want to scare you, but file this in the back of your head. If you hear breach of contract or sue for specific performance, anything like that, you might need to talk to an attorney. Now, I'm not giving you this advice, but I have heard over the years sometimes it's better to buy the house and sell it later rather than go to court, lose a bunch of money and the house. Again, I'm not giving you that advice, but I am saying have that conversation with your team of professionals. So why are so many buyers backing out these days? Simple. With values dropping as fast as they are, if a buyer feels like they bought at the top of their price range and sees interest rates coming down and prices as well, huge numbers of buyers are using the inspection contingency to get out and give them a chance to wait and watch and see what happens in the next few months. The goal, of course, is to get the same type of house for a lot less money down the road. New home cancellations has hit the epidemic stage. In the Southwest, cancellations have hit 45%. Why? Because it takes so long to build a house. This year, if you started the process in February, you're getting an interest rate 3.5%. By the time the house gets done, October, November, interest rate's 7%. No wonder home buyers are fleeing. Plus, with builders, it's not earnest money you put down, it's a deposit, which more often than not, the buyer loses when they cancel the contract. So what would cause a seller to sue a buyer who cancels? If a buyer tries to get out of a contract after clearing the contingencies, most of the time the loss to earnest money is about as far as it goes because lawsuits are expensive, time-consuming, and never guaranteed. In the recent past, finding a new buyer was as simple as relisting the house. In those cases, it was way better just to kill the deal and move on. But now with the market slowing down so much and buyers so much harder to find, a buyer who cancels a contract and trashes the seller's ability to move forward might find a seller's pissed enough to take legal action. So what do you do if you find yourself wanting to get out of a contract after the contingencies have all cleared? Here's the bonus tip. Talk to your agent and your title attorney if you have one about the situation. You may have them talk to the listing agent to see what their take on it is. It might not be that big a deal to them, but that's not carved in stone. There's some situations where you leave the listing agent out of it altogether and just make your move. What I'm saying is find out what the consequences are before you bail out. I hope this information helps you in some way. If you like this video, tell a friend, give it a like to help me spread the word, and subscribe so you know when the next one drops. As always, I appreciate you and your time. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.